gotta help me, Detective Duck. You see, someone stole my the trousers. I'm butt naked. Huh? Nice getaway sticks.
Porky Pig, the character for whom the expression "keep your pants on" never applied, is considered by many to be the first breakout star from Warner Brothers' animation department. The character has had many traits and personalities over the years, and even ages, starting off as a kid at school but then settling into suburban adulthood. But the two most superficial attributes are his trademark stutter, an affect of his original voice actor, Joe Doherty, and the fact that while he does feel the need to put on a bow tie and jacket, and sometimes gloves, he does not feel the need to go any further with his wardrobe.
Forget it.
What's up, Docs and Docettes? Trevor Thompson, the self-appointed Looney Tunes critic here, and today we're talking about Porky Pig and his willingness to so often go, as they say in the vernacular, porky piggin'. Now, before we get into this, I want to just clarify this. It may seem a little bit risque and maybe even a bit clickbaity, but I've actually done the research. There's a lot of really interesting stuff.
Is that what say, Porky Piggin'? Because you know, if you're referring to a character that routinely goes bottomless, you should really call it Twinkle Bellying it, because you know, I did it first. What kind of dumbass puts a chair right here? And probably the same dumbass that forgot we already did a Porky Pig video. Startled you, did I?
You could say that, yeah. You know, I am shooting a video right now, Twink.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Oh, so you're here to contribute some story about yourself being a cartoon character that doesn't wear any pants.
Oh, doesn't wear pants? Oh, Trevor, what?
Several fake realizations that their groin is exposed later.
Oh, Rodimus.
Author! So what you're saying in that very community theater way is that you'd like me to go get you a pair of boxers?
No, dummy. You know I want all and sundry to gander upon my goose. It's just really not that interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, you know what? That's the first thing you've said this whole time that I agree with. The video is not about that. It's about Porky.
No, it's not. It's actually about Bugs Bunny. Yeah, and about how he, along with many other characters, are trickster characters that are cleverly disguised as rabbits.
Look, Twink.
Uh-huh.
I know you're magical.
Yeah.
And that means you can do whatever you want.
Uh-huh.
And you can make people do whatever you want them to do.
Yeah, sometimes.
And you're also really good for the production, and you're good at research, and
Thank you.
You're editing,
Uh-huh.
and you're really funny and smart and pretty and fun to be around, and you smell really good. What was I saying?
Nothing! You are, and as always, saying nothing. But I have a great idea for a video, and as you said, I'm pretty awesome, and you know, I'm always helping you with videos, and I'm always editing your videos.
All right. Thank you, Twink.
Attaboy! Now, before we start, did you go?
Yes.
Are you sure? Because I don't want to be in the middle of the video and we have to stop because you have to,
You won't.
Good. Let it go, dude. Yeet! Score! After you.
Oh, no. After you.
Oh, no, I insist after you.
Oh, please. You must go first.
Oh, after the Looney Tunes critic.
Well, I am indeed that thing.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, I just had to take his place. With the treachery and Trickster.
And now, these messages.
What's up, folks? You're listening to Trevor Thompson, the self-appointed Looney Tunes critic. Although everyone's a critic. That's all, folks.
Well, Twink, welcome once again to my humble abode, and uninvited as it often always is.
I have no boundaries.
I have no boundaries.
Well, you were saying, what was it about Bugs being a trickster?
Yes. Well, of course, he's a
trickster
trickster.
god.
He is
I
a
want
modern day trickster god.
I want you to look this rabbit in the eye and tell him to his face, his adorable little Bugsy face, that I don't sleep with, that he's a trickster god.
You're a trickster god.
All right, I gotta go.
You know what's really funny?
Not that bit that we just did.
So yeah, but not only is Bugs a trickster god, really, if you think about it, cartoons as we know them, whether it's WB or Disney, it's kind of replaced what ancients may have known as the pantheon. Because...
All right, keep your pantheon.
And when I say pantheon, I'm not saying that we're worshipping these cartoons as if they're gods, even though...
We kind of are.
You do. Anyway.
These are good cartoons, okay? It's not like I'm up here fucking worshipping Rick and Morty. Fuck Rick and Morty.
Wubba-lubba-dub-dub! No! But once upon a time, pantheons, we'll use the example, the Greco-Roman pantheon, even though there's plenty of pantheons to choose from. They were gods that they worshipped, but they were more akin to literary figures that they would kind of, because as we know gods now in the Judeo-Christian sense, like Jesus and Mary, and even though Mary's not a god, argue about it in the comment section, but we see them as sinless and perfect and divine, so they don't have to worry about the petty human foibles of the world around us, or in my case, below us, because I live up there. But back in the long time ago of like Greco-Roman pantheons, they weren't so much concerned about their gods being divine or sinless. They actually preferred their gods to be embodiments of natural elements or just embodiments of human flaws and emotions themselves. I mean, let's look at Zeus and Jupiter. They were putting it in anything that would stand still long enough.
I want you to look this adorable little thing in his face and tell him that he's not divine.
And so, yes, in a way, pantheons were less about worshiping, even though that was a big part of it, but more of just a way of entertaining the masses and telling stories with these archetypes. But for them, the archetypes were the gods and goddesses. Hera was being just terrible and cursing every innocent little virgin farm girl that she could find.
A terrible method.
And Loki liked to fuck horses.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Don't think about it.
You're not going to move on from that, are you?
Yep, we're moving on. Anyway, yep.
Mr. Ed was getting it?
Hopefully it was consensually. Consent is sexy.
If he said no, he would actually say nay.
And in a way, we kind of use cartoons as a pantheon of sorts. What is this? What is this? It's not a shrine to your love of the WB pantheon.
Fair enough.
Yes. What is it? It can all be considered a sort of pantheon. Now, I could really get into how Elmer Fudd represents this god and how any sort of Disney princess represents any sort of these other goddesses. But today...
could you? Actually, that would be interesting.
I literally only researched Bugs Bunny because you told me only to research that.
All right.
So today we're going to talk about how Bugs kind of encapsulates the whole trickster god mentality.
Okay.
Yes. And let's think about what the definition of a trickster is in not necessarily pantheons or religion, but in stories. Because at the end of the day, all these pantheons, they were more literary than they actually were religious, if you really think about it. It's kind of like Commedia dell'arte. Do you know what Commedia dell'arte is?
For the purposes of this video, I'm going to say no.
Well, Commedia dell'arte is basically, they would, like each little show had not necessarily a character, but a written and thought out before archetype that they would basically just insert into each little story.
I did not know that.
Anyway, the trickster. Now, the trickster is often characterized as a person or a character, an animal, a god, possibly, that uses their wits and their cunning and their charisma to either get what they want or kind of get out of a bind. And they're often characterized as not necessarily being the strongest looking character. You know, like Drax. Drax would never be the trickster character.
I want you to look this gorgeous little Roger Rabbit in the face and say that he's not a weakling.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Yeah! I don't know, you're pretty bad.
I hope I didn't actually hurt it.
No, he's fine.
Okay.
Dude, those
Physical
things.
comedy. They like physical comedy. And so, yes, so tricksters are usually characterized as, weaker animals. And that's where the animal tricksters come in. We got bunnies. Bunnies and bunny rabbits are often seen as tricksters. We'll talk about that later. Also, foxes. Now, foxes, you could argue they are predators, but they're all rather small, and they're also actually very shy.
No, rabbits seen also more as like fertile.
Yes, they are. In a lot of cultures, rabbits represent fertility and rebirth. Obviously, they usually represent rebirth because they come out during spring, and spring is normally the time where we think about rebirth because everything.
That's when the rabbits multiply.
Yeah.
Millions of rabbits. Where were they all coming from?
From me, Doc. I'm multiplying, see? I'm multiplying.
But where the rabbit came in as a trickster, it's very interesting. Because at least I find it interesting because I'm a huge fucking nerd. But see, the rabbits, they're usually prey animals. Like they're not really predatory. Like there's not another animal that they prey upon. So in these stories, like a bigger animal or maybe a hunter was trying to hunt them, and they would, use their wits to outsmart the hunter or the predatory animal. Now, in terms of where the rabbit as a trickster may have come from, there are tons of cultures where a rabbit trickster is prevalent. The South African, Western African, and Central African, they all have, their main trickster god is usually Anansi the spider, which anybody that's ever seen American Gods, that is like the Mr. Nancy character, the Anansi character. And
Anansi, right?
Yes. And I hope it's right at least.
That's what I remember how it's being spelled.
And also, but they did have a character that was similar in tone to the Anansi character that was a rabbit. And also, there were Native American. There was Native American rabbits, like trickster gods, like the Algonquin tribes and Native American Algonquin tribes, kind of in the more North American, kind of like the Canadian area. They also had a rabbit trickster god, also kind of affiliated with creation, known as the Manabazo. And that was just one Native American tribe that had that. I believe the Cherokee Indians and the Creek Indians and a couple others whose name escapes me at this time, they also had rabbit trickster gods. I believe the Cherokees may have been referred to as Jitsu. And also, I just want to preface this by saying I am not an expert in African or Native American folklore. So if I get anything wrong, please let me know in the comment section. And I really apologize if I've gotten anything wrong. And also, the next part of this little bit is going to be heavily relying on speculation from some other, like it's from a third party. So again, if I get any of this wrong, or if you are more of an expert in these folkloric entities than I am, please let us know. I like to learn things. Now, it can be argued that Bugs Bunny is kind of an offshoot of an earlier trickster rabbit character from American folklore, Brer Rabbit. Now, before there's a bunch of arguments in the comment section, yes, there is a movie.
Look who's sitting next to her. If she's saying anything wrong, I'll fucking correct her. Calm down. Leave her alone. Go ahead.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm the authority here, man.
But yes, there was a movie featuring Brer Rabbit that
We know it.
largely appropriated and stole things from certain cultures and whitewashed it immensely. That I'm sure Disney would love to just sweep that movie under the rug. But
I could do a whole video about it.
I believe you. But I'm going to not talk necessarily about that movie or that portrayal of that movie.
But the thing that it's based on, right?
Yes, I want to talk more about the actual character that it was based on.
The books.
Now, it is speculated, but I'm talking like before Joel Chandler Harris. Like he took those stories from actual African slaves.
Right.
So I want to talk about what I want to talk about what their story was. I don't want to talk about what his rendition of it and then the bastardization in a movie later. Anyway.
She said bastard.
That's the worst thing we've said here, isn't it? We didn't say fuck or pussy in another video or anything.
We would never say fuck or pussy.
No, we're
All right, come on, you fucking pussy. Let's go.
I don't have
Say your
one.
thing.
Remember, mine is inside.
I'm calling you a fucking
it's
pussy.
my spirit pussy.
All right, well,
Anyway.
all right, spirit pussy. Fucking say it.
Brer Rabbit kind of arose in the Americas after slaves were taken from their land and brought over here, and it kind of in their stories about a rabbit trickster from their own homeland kind of got mixed with some Native American trickster rabbit stories, and from that amalgamation, Brer Rabbit is thought to have been born. And the cool thing about Brer Rabbit is he pretty much embodies the trickster spirit incredibly well, because what was interesting about him is that he was constantly getting the best of the animals or the people that were trying to subdue.
Brer Fox.
Yeah, Brer Fox sometimes, but always trying to get the best of the people that were subduing him. And it was kind of, in many ways, he was a Robin Hood character, because these people, these enslaved people, they could tell the story of Brer Rabbit, and it was their folklore hero, because he represented, a person that was rising above and kind of getting the best of the people who would subdue him, much like they wished that they could rise above and become free and subdue the people that were enslaving them. So he was kind of, he was I can't think of the word, but he was like a hero figure to them. A lot like Robin Hood, very much like that, take from the rich, give to the poor kind of mentality. But the really cool thing about Brer Rabbit is that why he embodies that trickster narrative so much, it's not just because he is considered like, a smaller, weaker animal that outsmarts all these animals that are supposed to be bigger and tougher than him out of his sheer wits alone. But he's never a fully good character or a fully bad character. Now, in our kind of very, very kind of a sanitized Western mindset, and how we view literature and how we view characters, like you have to be completely good or completely bad. I've actually had some other fairies in my life tell me, it's like, I just like my villains to be bad. I just like my villains to be bad and my heroes to be good. And that's very, very, very that's, in my opinion, a very childish thing to say. And that's why I like the trickster spirit, because the trickster spirit embodies both the good and bad of human nature. Because Brer Rabbit, even though he did rise above and he would subdue his attackers and he would outsmart anybody that was trying to hurt him or eat him, he would also kind of take the piss out of some people. He would make fun of people. He would trick people. And he wasn't always tricking the people that were trying to hurt him. He would sometimes just kind of trick people for shits and giggles. And that's another thing about the trickster. And that's that the trickster will trick people to either teach them a lesson, to get what they want, to outsmart somebody, or because they're literally just bored.
So it's interesting that you say that about, sometimes it's to be a hero and sometimes it's to be teaching a lesson, but sometimes it's just to fuck with somebody.
Yeah.
There's a very disparate group of us in the LT fandom who have problems morally with, and they're cartoons, but they have problems with the fact that
Cartoons are people too.
Yeah, exactly. Pre-46, post-46, I should say, he would never fuck with anybody first. It always, stuff would come to him and he would fight back. Mm-hmm. And then even later, he became more of a hero character where there's stories where he's helping people and that and that. But pre-48, there were plenty of times where he just fucked with someone just to fuck with them because he was bored. So
That's what
it's
a trickster does.
So it's a thing. It's a thing, guys.
And the thing, we're so ready to accept anti-heroes for shows and properties that are geared towards adults. Like, what is Jack Sparrow if not a Bugs Bunny character? Like,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and we're ready to accept that because that's geared towards a older audience. But oh no, if a kid watches it, kids have to know it's black and white, it's good or bad. Yeah. Which I'm not gonna say like how you should raise your kids. My opinion is I think that's a very harmful way to raise children, to just paint everything in black and white. Mm-hmm. I understand it's easier, and I understand that kids' brains aren't developed enough to understand the morally gray areas, but still, like...
But they're little people. It's just that
they're tiny people.
They're tiny people. They can understand. You just gotta explain it a little more.
Yeah, like, oh no, we gotta talk to our kids.
Right. Oh, I hate those people.
God. But you mean the TV can't raise my son? Like, no, just talk to your kids. You can explain things. It's fine. Or just maybe if they're like really little, like 4 years old, don't let them watch Looney Tunes, because maybe that's not for them.
Baby Looney Tunes is for them.
Baby Looney Tunes is for them. Like, let them grow with the Looney Tunes. Baby Looney Tunes. And then Tiny Tunes. And then...
It's another property in the Looney Tunes canon that fucking gets so much hate that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Guys, it's for 5-year-olds.
Let 5-year-olds enjoy things. Right. That's kind of how I feel about some things like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like the prequels. Maybe the prequels, maybe that wasn't made for the people that grew up with the 1970s.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that was supposed to be for the new crowd, but no, we just can't let anybody else enjoy anything.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, boys. A 1, a 2.
We now return to the Bugs Bunny and Tweety Show.
So we gotta get back to our
Sorry.
Part 2. Speaking of the prequels.
Yeah, but we're rational enough to understand that all humans are. We all have those moral gray areas. We're not, like, life isn't black and white, and that's that's what was so interesting about the pantheons of yore. The Greeks had morally gray gods that were worshipped. Like, they were worshipped and they had stories written about them. The Romans did. The Norse, like, since, we're all on the Loki kick right now, Loki, I've never been so angry as when people present Loki like he's a villain in these damn Marvel movies, when he was a trickster god. Yes, he did a lot of bad things in Norse mythology. But he also did a lot of good things. Like, he was a trickster. He was not bad. He was not good. He did not fight on either side. He literally, I think I read in one article, Loki was on Loki's side.
Right.
And in these movies, he's kind of, sometimes they play up that moral gray anti-hero with him, but not nearly enough, and not sophisticated enough for it to actually read. God bless, they tried in Ragnarok. But speaking of Loki, you wanted to say something about Loki in relation to bugs.
Well, you know what? I did, but I have a question that I want to ask you first, that I think only you could answer.
I might be able to.
Not just being an expert on all this stuff, but also...
I'm hardly an expert. I just don't sleep.
You're more of a cartoon character than you are an expert on this stuff, but you are both of these things. So let me ask you this. When you see a rabbit character, cartoon character specifically now, that is a trickster, in your opinion, is it more of an influence? Is Bugs more of an influence, or the trickster trope, trickster god trope, as a rabbit, that is more of an influence? Which
explain that question.
In other words, do you think? Let's say they're
like, if I see Bugs, like, what do I see?
No. Oh. If you see a cartoon character rabbit, not Bugs, that is like come out in the last 30 years, whatever, wherever it is, and and it's a cartoon and it's a rabbit and it's clearly a trickster, do you think is Bugs more of the influence there, or the trickster rabbit trope?
Trickster, and I'll explain why. Because keep in mind, young ones, I am from the 1920s, so my view of entertainment...
Keep it classy.
My view of entertainment has changed over the years. And my voice. So, for me, even though obviously, like, I know Bugs, we're good friends, but for me, when I think of a bunny, of course I think of Bugs, he's my dear friend, but I also think of, not a cartoon, but Harvey. And Harvey, for those of you who don't know, it's a movie based on a play.
Great movie.
It's amazing. And a gentleman named Elwood P. Dowd, his best friend is a 6 foot tall, or 6'3" if you go by the movie, invisible rabbit. 6 foot in the play, 6'3" in the movie. Fun little fact. Because James Stewart was 6 foot tall and he wanted to be looking up at the rabbit, so he made him taller.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yes. That's a good acting choice, actually.
Yes, he was a genius in that movie.
Also, because you have to, it helps you focus your
because you can't just, looking here, it's harder. Like, you have to have something to focus on.
Dude, that's part of why Roger Rabbit is so brilliant as a movie to me.
I seen a rabbit. Where? He's right here in the bar. Well, say hello, Harvey.
I told you so.
Harvey, now, to Elwood, he's not invisible. Elwood can see him as clear as day, to the point where he's constantly trying to introduce him to people, like, oh, let me introduce you to my friend. But nobody else can see him. But it is established in the movie that he is very real, like he's opening doors and everything.
Yeah.
And he's not really supposed to be a rabbit, even though he takes the form of a rabbit, he's a puka. And pukas, they were trickster spirits as well, and sometimes they would take on a bunny rabbit or maybe even a dog. There's also different ways. I believe they are an Irish spirit, because I literally just thought of this and I didn't have time to look it up, so come for me in the comments if you must. But yes, they're an Irish spirit that sometimes can be a rabbit. And so and he is very much a trickster. Now, Harvey is more of a benevolent, like he doesn't fuck with people just to fuck with them. Like, he definitely sometimes he'll fuck with people, but it's never in a malevolent way. It's just kind of like it kind of tickles him a little bit.
Kind of like how you were in your early cartoons.
Pretty much, like, just to tickle him a little bit, and
just to blow his face off just a little bit with dynamite.
I mean,
just a little bit.
He just made Dr. Chumley think he was going crazy. That's why.
Thanks can take it.
Right, and so when I see a rabbit in my head, and that's why it's very hard for me to watch movies like Donnie Darko, because I'm like, no, that's supposed to be Harvey, but he's scary. And yes, I know that there's actually any similarities between Donnie Darko and Harvey are purely coincidental.
I'll say it, man. Donnie Darko is not a great movie. There, fuck you. It's not.
I mean, I understand why people like it.
I do too. They're idiots.
But I don't like it.
It's not a good movie, dude. I'm sorry. I'm tired of pretending.
I like Harvey. I like Harvey more.
It's a way better movie with the same basic premise.
Harvey did it first, and Harvey did it better.
Some things don't need to be made dark, okay?
And nobody has to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and yes, just before anyone yells at me in the comments, I know that Harvey and Donnie Darko I know that the creator and the director has talked about it. Everything is purely coincidental.
By the way you get comments is by apologizing in advance.
Right. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, so when I think Trickster, I actually think Harvey. Where when I see a bunny character, my brain goes to Harvey before it goes to Bugs, and I know that's very bad as a cartoon character. But Harvey's great at parties. He's great. I'm not saying Bugs isn't. Bugs is a wonderful host.
If you can get him. I mean, he doesn't even show up to that shit anymore, does he?
Harvey just shows up. He has a lampshade on his head, so you know where he is. It's adorable.
Yeah.
So that's actually... So now, because of Harvey, whenever I see a bunny, I do think Trickster.
But that's you. Mm-hmm. I'm asking about, what do you think the people that are making these new rabbit Trickster characters, do you think they're more influenced by the work of the trope over the years or Bugs?
Bugs is probably a big part of it. It really, and Roger Rabbit, for people that grew up at a specific time. I think Bugs and Roger Rabbit, maybe even a little bit of Brer Rabbit might have cause
certainly not Thumper.
I'm thumping. That's why they call me Thumper. So yeah, I think kind of a mix of Bugs Bunny, Roger Rabbit, and Brer Rabbit. When people are making these rabbit cartoons, they're probably heavily influenced by them. They might even be heavily influenced a little bit by Harvey, depending on what generation they are or how big of a Turner Classic Movie nerd they were growing up. But
do you remember? You said you only watched Roger Rabbit one time.
No, I've seen Roger Rabbit a lot.
Okay,
yeah.
So one of my favorite jokes in there.
It's been a while.
Okay, do you remember the joke about Roger mentions his Uncle Thumper?
No.
They're sitting there cutting the handcuff off. His girlfriend's getting the handcuff off of him for him, and Roger's fucking off because he got out of the cuff.
Yeah.
And she's asking him. She goes, "Is there anything I can do to help?" He goes, "Maybe you can go downtown and check the probate." And Roger goes, "Yeah, check the probate."
Why, my Uncle Thumper had a problem with his probate, and he had to take these big pills and drink lots of water.
Not prostate, you idiot.
Probate. Do you know whose line that was, by the way? Spielberg. Spielberg suggested that line.
Spielberg? He wanted to be edgy so bad.
Hey man,
nobody
it
let
worked.
him.
It worked though. When you got a good joke, it works, man.
Spielberg wanted to be edgy so bad, but they were like, "No, you're our fantasy guy."
I'll forgive him for Ready Player One.
I give me the classics. I'm in the 1920s. Give me Harvey. Give me Arsenic and Old Lace.
What a great
Every
movie.
other Josephine Hall movie.
What a great movie. Arsenic and Old Lace. It's the perfect what do you call it? What is that? It's a farce. Yeah. People running in and out of rooms and misidentifying you. Do you realize that Fawlty Towers is a farce?
Yes.
I had no it took me to 29 and I was like, wait a minute, it's a fucking farce.
This is gonna sound really mean.
No, it's fine because I didn't John Cleese turned a fucking sitcom into a farce.
Is it bad that I kind of see every British sitcom as a farce because they're always so over the top?
No, because you don't understand how popular Fawlty Towers was.
I mean, it's a good show.
Seinfeld times 1,000. It was huge in England, so you're not going to get away from that structure that he and Connie created. But anyway,
I just whenever I think British comedy, I always think farce.
I mean, there's a lot of
There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of.
Yeah.
I feel like that Venn diagram is almost a stack of pancakes.
The Office isn't a farce, though. The Office isn't a farce. The Office is more of a.
Oh, Ricky Gervais. But
So yeah, let's get back to this.
But yeah, but did you have any other questions about
Sex? What
I can't
what is
help
it?
you with that.
My dad did that. He sat me down. He said, "All right, son, it's time for questions about sex." I was like, "All right, Dad, what do you want to know?" So yeah, the trickster idea. When did you get the idea to Mary that that bugs may be the
An offshoot.
of that whole trope?
Well,
is it a trope? Am I using that word right?
Probably. Like the trickster spirit has been around since people could tell stories.
So then, yeah, I guess it is fair.
So it's definitely like a thing, and we don't really use the word trickster anymore. We use the word anti-hero, and like Jack Sparrow, he's an anti-hero. Loki is supposed to be an anti-hero.
Walter White, Breaking Bad.
He ventures really into that villain territory, though.
You're goddamn right.
I mean, he probably started off as an anti-hero, right?
No, he started off as a good guy, and then the whole premise is that he gets cancer and he realizes that he can pay for it. But he does really bad things that aren't heroic at all. Yeah, at the end of the first season, But like the thing is, it's a journey, and then in other seasons he redeems himself and other things and you're just like, oh.
But then he really doesn't redeem himself. He does.
I didn't watch it.
I have friends that tell me about it. Manx told me all about it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you listen to Manx. Well, that's a good idea.
Sure. Who else am I gonna fucking talk to up in a fucking whiskey bottle?
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue with this picture. And, confidentially, that film didn't exactly break.
Tell him to his face that he's a trickster god.
You're a trickster god.
All right, Mac, the lady in the house ain't home, and besides, we mailed you people a check last week.
Isn't it funny that Bugs and that when you do his voice and Manx has the exact same voice?
I don't know what you're talking about. It looks like you're wearing tights.
Fuck you!
But yeah, what do you think? You were saying,
Well, not only is Bugs a trickster god, but one could argue that the entire pantheon of Warner Brothers cartoons, as well as possibly the pantheon. Or, can I start that over?
You can, but just keep your pantheon.
I hate you. I hate you so much.